what's the word? It's a real mystery. All these cases are mysteries. That's why we're interested in them, isn't it? Because there's people going missing, even children, unfortunately, going missing all the time, which is so very extremely sad. But it's a sad fact of life, really. All over the world, of course. Don't forget. I mean, there are billions of people in the world. There are children going missing very often. And what happened in this case? This was literally, supposedly, okay, this is a story that the mum of these two children, Lily and Jack, let me put their pictures up. Yeah, the mum of these two children, Lily and Jack Sullivan, and the stepdad and their other sibling were apparently all asleep. And Lily and Jack were playing. And then suddenly they noticed, the stepdad and the mum suddenly noticed they couldn't hear them playing anymore. And when they went outside, Lily and Jack had disappeared completely into thin air. Poof. You know, like sometimes they say people do, but of course we know that they don't. People don't disappear into thin air. They're always somewhere. And these two children, so there's been intensive searches. You can imagine that a lot of the spotlight has gone on the parents, the mum, the biological mum and the stepdad, who were supposedly sleeping at the time with Lily and Jack's sibling, a baby. So they've taken a lot of flack, if you like, and also their biological father. He's been interviewed. Aspersions cast on him. You know, when children go missing, the suspicion, if you like, or the attention is always on the family first, as it should be, because quite often, it is the family, sadly, as in the case of baby Emmanuel, whereas, you always, I mean, it's just horrible for children to go missing, but it just seems even worse when it's their own parents, the people, that they should be able to trust. At the end of the day, if you can't be safe and secure in your own home, where can you be safe and secure? But unfortunately for many children, home is not a safe place, is it? Home is definitely not a safe place. Now, as far as Lily and Jack are concerned, we don't know that, whether the home was a safe place for them or not. The police have not released any information to say that it wasn't a safe place for them. And now we're going to look at the latest, or I say latest, it's a couple of days ago this news came out, but I just haven't had a chance to update you all. About polygraphs and bits of Lily's blanket that have been found, etc. But still, this case is a complete mystery. These children have disappeared in a puff of smoke, it feels like, doesn't it? So let's have a look. So Lily and Jack Sullivan update, polygraph test results revealed. Now, as we know, polygraph test results cannot be admitted into a court of law. So, in some ways you could say, oh, well, you can take them with a pinch of salt. But of course, the law enforcement use them as a guide, don't they? At the end of the day, if they do a polygraph test, like on Chris Watts, remember, he volunteered to have or agreed to have a polygraph test, probably thought he could beat it, because sometimes people do beat them and they're not 100% accurate, either way, to say someone is lying or isn't lying. But he, of course, was found to have been lying. Sometimes they're very conclusive, sometimes they're inconclusive, sometimes people will say, oh, it's difficult to say exactly. So, it's not 100%, doesn't mean to say that the people that have taken polygraph tests in this case are innocent. What it means is they probably are innocent. And the law enforcement will use the results of polygraph tests, won't they, to direct their future investigations. No, just a guide to them. And they're a helper, like if somebody fails a polygraph test like Chris Watts did. I don't know if you watched that interview, that then the woman who took the polygraph test, or the police officer, sat him down and said, look, you failed this polygraph test, and used it as a tool to crack him open. And that is basically the purpose that they serve. So new details in the case of missing siblings Lilly and Jack Sullivan were released in court documents, including the result of polygraph tests administered to their parents. Now, the only thing that has always struck me as strange in this case, and I don't like to jump and assume it's the parents, but their mum, she did, Malaya, she left the area the next day. That's always struck me as strange, just because if my child had gone missing from home, now I know you couldn't stay there forever. Like if years went by and your child still hadn't come back, or even months, maybe you would have to go, especially if you've got, because she's got a baby, you know, she needed support. But fancy the next day going, you know, because they could have, that's when you'd be expecting them to come back, you know, within the first couple of days, wouldn't you? And you, as their mum, you would want to be there, because they'd be scared if they'd been lost for a couple of days. They'd be scared, wouldn't they? They'd want their mum. So that's the only thing that's ever struck me really strange in this case, is why Malaya decided the very next day to go off from where her children had gone missing. Strange that. But, you know, who knows what you would do in that circumstance. So they disappeared from their home in rural Nova Scotia on May the 2nd, prompting weeks of searches by law enforcement through dense forests. So Nova Scotia is in Canada. The court filings show at least 4 polygraph examinations were conducted by investigators. So 4. And, you know, the stepfather, he did, Daniel Martel, he did do an interview not long ago, and he said he had passed the polygraph test. So it seems like it's true that he did pass the polygraph test. Maybe he's passed 2. So where does that lead us? You know, for people who feel that Daniel is responsible, or Malaya, or both of them together, where does this leave it? You know, when they're passing all these lie detector tests. So initial polygraphs for the children's mother, Malaya Brooks Murray, and their stepfather, Daniel Martel, had indicated truthful answers. And although Newsweek has reached out to the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, I don't think they have commented. So the case of Lilly 6 and Jack 4 has drawn international attention after they were reported missing from their home in rural Lansdowne Station, Nova Scotia, earlier this year. Now, the other thing it's important to point out is where these children went missing from. So remote, such a remote area. You know, you've got their cabin and it's sort of in the woods. Now, there is a road not far away, you know, running parallel to the home. So cars would be going past occasionally, but there's no neighbours. You know, it's a very remote area, and that is something that has in common with the area where baby Emmanuel has gone missing from. You know, remote areas, so difficult to find, especially children in those areas. I mean, you could literally search these areas 10 times, not find anything, and then on the 11th time find something. You know, one thing I've come to realize through covering true crime is how difficult it is to find a body, anybody, even an adult's body, even a group of bodies, but especially children's bodies are so difficult to find, aren't they? You know, it's just not easy, even with dogs and cadaver dogs, etc. So the release of court documents sheds light on investigative steps taken by the RCMP, including forensic testing and wide-ranging record requests, and clarified that investigators have not established reasonable grounds to treat the disappearance as criminal. So they're still not treating it as a criminal disappearance. So they were first reported missing at 10:01 a.m. on May the 2nd. And we're now on the 26th of August. So within a couple of days, it will have been 4 months. Police arrived at the home shortly thereafter at 10:27 a.m. Surveillance footage showed the children with Brooks, Murray and Martell outside a local Dollarama the day prior. So they were seen in a family environment the day before, out, at the shops. And the couple told investigators that the siblings had possibly slipped out of their sliding door as the parents slept in another room with their infant child. And according to the court records cited by CTV, Brooks, Murray and Martell were first given polygraphs on May the 12th, so quite a long time ago. The couple were then given subsequent polygraph tests 3 more times during the investigation. And in each session, Brooks, Murray's and Martell's results indicated they were telling the truth. So what do you make of that? So many people thinking that they're involved in it, but, are they? Additionally, the children's biological father, Cody Sullivan, was given a polygraph on June the 12th, and his answers were truthful. I'm going to put a picture of these. I've got a picture in here somewhere. Oh, I don't have a picture of him. I've got a picture. Oh, there you go. I wanted to put a bigger picture up. So, yeah. What do you think? Do you think those polygraph tests mean that they are innocent, or do you think they're just being very clever? So additionally, the children's biological father, Cody Sullivan, was given a polygraph on June the 12th, and his answers were truthful according to these documents. And the children's step-grandmother was also considered for a polygraph exam on June the 10th. However, her physiology was not suitable for analysis, and an opinion on the polygraph examination was not rendered. So I don't know what that means. Her physiology was not suitable for analysis, but anyway. The court filings also listed the items that were seized by investigators. They included the children's toothbrushes, which will be for DNA, won't it? A sock, and pieces of a pink blanket that family members confirmed belonged to Lilly. One piece was in a tree near the home, and another piece was later found in a trash bag at the end of the driveway. And then the pink blanket was found about less than a mile away in the woods by family members on the day they were reported missing. So did they go into the woods? Has some harm befallen them? Because if they went into the woods, they would be deceased by now. They couldn't survive all this time alone in the woods. Are they in those woods? Anyway, investigators also examined clumps of boot prints in 2 sizes that were found in nearby woods. Now that's new, because before they only talked about 1 boot print, didn't they? And now they talk about clumps of boot prints in 2 sizes. Did they go into the woods as something happened to them in those woods? I just don't know. Anyway, the document showed investigators sought multiple court orders, including requests for cell phone records, banking records, and highway video surveillance on drivers leaving Nova Scotia between May the 1st and 3rd. They also recorded receipts of hundreds of public tips and a witness account of 2 children walking towards a tan or gold sedan on May the 2nd. Was that Jack and Lily walking towards a car? Did it? Because there is a road right near their home where you could see it. Somebody could pick children up easily if they'd walk towards a road. So here they are, poor things. Where are they? So you have to hope, in a way, the best hope is that they've been kidnapped by someone, like all children that go missing. It's almost the best hope is that they have been kidnapped and someone's keeping them safe somewhere, not hurting them. Because the alternative is that somebody's kidnapped them and killed them, or that they've got lost, gone into those woods and something's happened to them. Maybe they're in the river or, I just don't know. I mean, you hope beyond hope that they're okay, but how can they still be okay after all this time? So much time. And time in the case of missing children, they call the golden hour they talk about. The first hour after a child goes missing is like the golden hour, isn't it, where you have the best chance of getting them back. And then every hour after that really is just gets less and less likely, doesn't it? So, an unidentified investigator wrote in the court documents, at this point in the investigation, Jack and Lily's disappearance is not believed to be criminal in nature. I do not have reasonable grounds to believe a criminal offence has occurred. And because Jack and Lily are still missing, polygraph examinations were conducted with the intention of ruling out that possibility. And Belinda Gray, the children's paternal grandmother, said, what did CPS do? What part were they investigating? What were their concerns and what were they doing? They might even have answers for the investigation on what happened to them or why it might have happened to them. And then just forensic testing continues. So the search continues for these poor little children. But I just wanted to give you that update. So, at the end of the day, we cannot cast shade on the mother and the stepfather because they have passed several polygraphs. As I say, though, the only thing that ever seemed strange to me was that the mother, Malaya, the very next day left the area. The very next day seems strange to me. That you wouldn't want to be there when your children were brought back to you safely. So where are they? I hope wherever they are, they're together, whether they've passed from this world, these poor little children. But maybe they haven't. Maybe they're safe somewhere. Maybe it's a family kidnapping of some kind. There was some relative of Malaya, wasn't there, that was saying that Malaya was behind it and it was a kidnapping and this, that and the other. Well, I think he's been more or less discredited, but I wish it was true what he was saying. I wish Malaya and Jack had been kidnapped by a family member and were safe somewhere. But only time will tell, and we just have to wait and see, don't we? And those, the mother and the stepfather, if they really have no idea what's happened to these children, they're going through a lot because they're getting a lot of media attention, bad media attention and social media attention thrown at them. And if they're innocent, that's very unfair, isn't it?